What's up, everybody? I'm Red.
What's up, I'm Bella.
What up? I'm Skeptic the Rapper.
And you're joining us today for Puff and Pass.
Puff and Pass!
We've got some experts in from our school today to have a little chat about everything. Before we get into it and I introduce them, I'm just going to bring up a little trigger warning at the start of the show. We might be talking about some content that is sensitive to people today. You might need an adult or a friend to sit down with and just chat about it. So if you start having some icky feelings or you're not feeling so good, you can just, come back to reality and have a chat with someone. Just know it's all good. We're all here for the same thing. And yeah, we're just trying to have some good conversations and make sure everyone's feeling good. So we'll get into it. So we'll introduce our guests for today. How you going, guys?
Good. How are you?
Good. So we'll start with you, big man.
Sure.
Let's go.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. I've been on the
you.
other end of the camera watching all the Puff and Pass, so I feel very, very privileged to be here with you special young people who are doing this great thing. My name's Nathan, as you guys are all aware. I'm one of the senior practitioners and team leaders at SASSY, which is a specialised assisted school for youth that supports young people with all sorts of stuff that goes on for them. So I've been there pretty much since its inception, back when you were a student. So I might use that as a bit of a segue to say, the lovely Sunny here, who works for us now, has been on both sides of the fence.
Thanks for having me here today, guys, and
No,
getting me
thank
away
you.
from my desk and daily duties.
That's it.
Again, my name's Sunny. I'm receptionist at SASSY and also an ex-student.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate having you in today. So we've just got some questions I'm going to shoot at you guys. Just have some organic conversations about this stuff. We're going to be talking about kind of first responses with young people, what you guys do in your job, what it feels like to be in your sort of job and your career, kind of why you got into it, just a bit about it. So yeah, I'm just going to start shooting a little bit. Is there a specific reason why either of you two chose the career that you're in today? Like a certain story or inspiration?
So mine stems from being a student at SASSY. I started there when I was about 16 years old and finished year 12 at 19.
Yep.
So after year 12, I got offered a traineeship at SASSY and the rest is history. Been there for, 5 years now, I think. This
Beautiful.
will be the 5th year. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sweet.
Well, I've pretty much had 2 careers in my life. So I was fortunate enough to be a professional athlete, a basketballer. And during that time, I got to do a lot of work with young people who were struggling, whether it was through disability or whether it was through being displaced. And that sort of led me into working with young people who needed a hand. And ultimately, when the career of playing runs out, which it does for every athlete, a new career began. So they're worlds apart. Both very rewarding. I really enjoy what I do now, supporting young people.
No, awesome. So how long have you been at SASSY for?
About 7 years now. So
7 years.
About 7 years and
yeah.
been in the field for well over 15, 16. So I've done some time with DCP, which I got out of. I've done some time with a company called Connect Itself and then came to SASSY and loving it.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thanks for that, guys. A little bit of insight into what you do.
What's the best part of your job?
Personally, everything about it. I get the opportunity to work in the business side of things and still interact with all the young people there. So I didn't have the heart to become a youth worker because I think I would be too mushy for something like that and just want to take everyone home. So, yeah, I enjoy it, for that part, definitely.
Awesome.
Sure. I think just helping others. I think knowing that a big part of my life was all about me and being able to help young people, particularly young people in need. And I think the best part of my job is planting seeds. Young people need to save themselves, but we certainly can help them.
Yeah. No, good stuff, guys. Good stuff. That being said, is there maybe some hard aspects to your job that makes it difficult? Whether that's emotionally or physically or whatever comes to mind when I say that.
Personally, I think it's the emotional part of it that definitely gets me some days. It's easy to say, yeah, I'm fine. I'm not going to think about it when I get home, but I definitely do. Even though I'm not on the floor, I get a lot of students coming to speak to me, random things, about their personal lives. So it's hard not to take that on board. So definitely that's the hard aspect. And knowing that you can't do much then and there.
Yeah,
it's a
in that
long
moment.
process. Yeah.
So you take a lot of that home with you.
Yeah, sometimes,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
do get trained not to and, look after ourselves, to be able to help you guys. But, you're only human at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
you can't help but feel empathy.
Yeah, definitely.
100%, for
Yeah.
sure.
Looking after yourself is a really important part. to be able to support others. You can't support others if you're not supporting yourself very well. For me, when I first started in DCP, it blew my mind from where I'd come from, and I was working with guardian and minister kids who were really disadvantaged, taken off their parents for some horrible reasons. And I didn't know if I'd survive 6 months in.
Wow.
I was taken at home. I wasn't sleeping. I was like, how would I? But ultimately, you get guided by those that are more experienced in the field, and you get your little wins here. But you also just understand, as Sonny said, it's a process.
Yeah, for sure.
There's no switch to save anybody, and they have to save themselves.
That's it. People have to be willing.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. So that being said, just coming to my mind at the moment, do you guys think there's like enough resources and training out there for you guys, like to do with your mental health and how you're feeling? For like, are there resources for you guys to talk to each other or other people when maybe, I don't know, you're just thinking about it a lot and that, it's playing a part?
We've got a really good workplace for us personally as staff. I think we get trained well to deal with things like that. However, and, especially for your own personal lives, we have access to psychologists and things like that
beautiful.
for ourselves. I can't say our seniors are always, there for an ear, to chat with. So can't say I feel very protected at work in that sense.
Yeah.
It's a lot better, and there are a lot of options for you to take up. Once again, it's up to the worker to take it up as well.
Yeah.
To seek that if they feel like they're burning out or they're not coping or what's going on for that worker. But the options are certainly there on many levels, from your support team within the school to your leadership team to, as Sonny said, outside psychologists or outside support work.
No, great. It's good that those resources are there for you guys in particular, because obviously taking on all of that can be a big load sometimes. Like, I know even some stuff I've dumped on the teachers at school, I think like, I can't believe they sat there and listened to all of that. So it's big stuff. So it's good you guys have that there. We've got to stay good. You got to keep good so that we can keep it all moving together in a big healthy cycle.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's it.
No, awesome. Thanks for that.
You mentioned something about DCP, is that right,
Yes.
Nathan? Would you mind explaining what that is?
There's the Department of Child Protection. So back in the day that I worked for it, was called Families SA. It's had a few incarnations but it's the department that looks after young people in the state. And GOM people, for young people that aren't aware, I'm sure some are that are listening to this, the guardian, the minister children. So they're young people that have been, they're wards of the state pretty much till the age of 18.
Right.
And can't live at home for all sorts of reasons. So I worked in that field for a little bit, not in the secure care, but in the community residential care. So working with young people that were sort of thrown in these units and had a care team around them 24/7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could you give an example of how you can make young people feel comfortable enough to talk about these sort of topics, or like any topic that might be sort of tough to talk about at times?
Absolutely. It all starts with being non-judgmental. I think, and it starts with a relationship. Not many young people are going to come to someone they don't know, they don't trust, and they feel will be judged. And so we do in our job, and we try and teach our team how to respond in the sense of it starts with a relationship, and therefore you could work with there. And it's about not bringing, when you do youth work and you come into a school like this, you got to leave, to be honest, your morals at the door. Your lifestyle, all that stuff doesn't count here because everyone's raised so differently.
That's it.
Yeah.
Everyone's come from such different, vast backgrounds.
100%.
So, but being non-judgmental is key to being able to have the conversation.
Yeah, definitely agree. Don't have much to add to Nathan's point, but definitely agree.
So, like, what do you think we can do as young people to, like, make it easier for us to have this sort of conversation with people?
I definitely think have that confidence. And if you do go, I say, to the wrong adult, and I mean to someone who's not aware of these things and might shut you down, don't be discouraged not to go to the next person.
Awesome.
That isn't the closed door. There's always someone willing to listen. You just got to find them.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to hear that because, it's definitely be a few times. You'd have multiple times where you're like, oh, this is fucked.
I'm just been shut down. I'm not even going to bring that up with anyone else. But, don't be discouraged. There's always someone that has been in that position too.
Especially with mainstream. I find especially with mainstream. Yeah.
Just thinking in, like, schools too, it's probably harder
Yeah,
to
100%.
come to a person and be like, hey, like,
Feel safe enough to talk about it.
Yeah.
Comfortable enough with that teacher. And in mainstream school, a lot of the time, it's big masses of students and like minimal teachers.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Usually it's one teacher to about 30 to
You
35
don't have
kids.
that connection. with
Yeah,
them.
that's
Yeah.
it. It'd be so hard. So in that, can I ask you guys, is it hard keeping up with like all those cases at once, dealing with more than one thing at once?
At times, just on that last thing, I think it comes back to that trusted relationship again. You got to find that one person, but you don't let the door close. That's for sure. And also, I think you're already doing it. I think you guys are having a voice. People talk about peer pressure being a real negative thing. Peer pressure can be a positive thing too.
100%.
Positive peer pressure and sharing your stories, sharing the knowledge, the educating. You guys are actually already doing what your question was, and I think that's how you get better and better at it, by allowing young people to have a voice, which is what you guys are doing great with Puff and Pass. Does it get easy? Is it easy to manage all of that at once? No, it can be a struggle at times because you're taking on a lot of other young people's stuff, and we're fortunate at Sassy that we're not. We have at maximum we've just crossed 160 enrolled young people, and we have a lot of staff.
Yeah.
On and that we're privileged in that sense compared to some of the big mainstream schools.
Very hands-on.
But even with the numbers we have and the ratios we have, it can still be a challenge, of course.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you want to give your best to every young person, and help meet their individual needs. And it can be a challenge.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that, guys. So when I say harm minimization and promoting safer drug use and promoting safer resources and all of that, what do you guys think about that? Like, what comes to mind when you hear that sort of thing? Because I know sometimes like people even hear the word safe use and they're like, oh, that's promoting drug use. That's promoting, like, it's glorifying and promoting it and just acknowledging that we'll never get past it and everything. So when we use those kinds of words, what comes to your guys' minds when we say those sorts of things?
I think young people in general are going to do it either way. So I think promoting a safe way for them to use and, have that time is amazing. That wasn't around when I was a bit younger, so which wasn't too long ago, but a lot has changed in the last few years where, people are more open to talking about it. People are more open to that safe use and things like that. So I definitely think it's needed. It's quite probably under-resourced at the moment.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, if you're looking for it, you can find it. For me, harm minimisation is education.
Yeah.
And it's about young people making educated choices. Just say no doesn't work. It's been proven not to work. And personally, I don't feel, young people are going to experiment with their consciousness at times. So it needs to be, they need to be understanding what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key for me of what harm minimisation is. We do a great job of us being taught as first responders and people that work with young people on the different substances and the pros and cons and that. I think we should be doing it in schools.
Yeah, and I think it's knowledge that should go across, all teaching staff and youth workers and things like that in mainstream schools as well. Don't think they're taught that enough.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've had drugs brought up a few times in like the health classes. Yeah, like health ed or whatever it was. And I can't even remember them, if I'm honest. Like, I think we maybe spoke about different names.
Mainly the thing that they do is they pretty much tell you, stay away from it. Like, that's about it.
That's all good and said until it's in front of you at a party and you're going to do it,
100%, yeah. I think they try to use a bit of fear factor more than actual education to implement any strategies or tools, and building that early in the foundation of drug use, building that, being able to say no, knowing where things are coming from, knowing how it's affecting you and all of that stuff. Like, that was never spoken about. Like, I had to do a lot of that research on my own and through friends, and mainly now that we're doing the podcast, looking at a lot of that stuff all the time now. So yeah, I think it's really important, and it's good to hear people's opinions on that, because a lot of the time people just go, oh, that's promoting drug use, like that's not good enough, that's not what we're trying to do here. And that's not what we're trying to do here.
I also feel with that sort of stuff, it's a lot of just talking about what you should do. There's no experience in it. So a lot of it's like, you should say no and don't let people pressure you into doing things. Like, that is literally all they say. Like,
which is like easy on paper, I guess.
Yeah,
but as soon as you're in that
that's it.
experience, things change very
That's
quickly.
it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you can always go, oh, this is how I would react, this is how I would react. But until you're
never know.
actually in that situation, if you're not given any proper tools and proper reactions and responses, knowing the difference between responding and reacting, even like
That's
jumping
it.
jumping into something like that without that sort of knowledge, like it's life-changing stuff. And implementing it from younger, the earlier you get that in, the better, because prevention is always better than solution. Like it's better to prevent a problem that would never happen than have to solve big problems that are happening, is the way that I like to look at that anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to look at that.
Yeah, there's just also not that enough education for when someone is thrown into a situation where they don't know what to do. So
Yeah, who to
You
call,
know,
who to
all-
talk
all
to
they
about
know-
it, or
all they know is I'm meant to say no and not give in to peer pressure.
yeah.
I think that's shifting though, because
Yeah.
and I know that's been the response for years. I've seen and heard it too, and certainly validating what you're saying. But ultimately, the war on drugs has failed, really, hasn't it? I think,
Yeah.
and it's and you've made it very clear in these podcasts. Everywhere you look, it's everywhere. And if
Yeah,
you're not
that's it.
if you're not accepting of that, you're being unrealistic. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So once again, it comes back to educating, making educated choices, and supporting young people on their journey.
Yeah,
And and substance use and substance abuse are two different things.
that's it.
Yeah.
100%.
And having responders with an understanding of that. And I've always found some of the best responders probably had a past where they understood
yeah,
and probably partied a little bit or looked into
Yeah,
their consciousness as well.
yeah.
And sometimes they're some of the better youth workers help supporting young people.
definitely. Yeah, it's a lot easier to talk to someone you feel relates to you about it.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem too. You know, a lot of people who haven't experienced that do not understand, you know, so it's a bit easier when you've been through that yourself and you
Yeah.
can, you know, advise young people as such. But yeah, it's definitely much to educate others.
Yeah, that's it.
And unfortunately, they'll often go home and drink 5 wines or 6
Yeah,
beers and
yeah.
Yeah.
not understand that the
Mm.
alcohol's a drug as well.
That's
Yeah, that's
it.
right.
100%.
It's just because it's not labelled.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's why they
Mm.
label it drugs and alcohol.
Exactly
Yeah.
how they do it.
100%.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Good one, Ty.
Yeah, it's really funny. I've always thought that there's always been a more positive stigma around alcoholism
Mm.
and drinking. Like it's the
Definitely.
party life and it's fun to do.
Be that
And-
wine mum or whatever.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
and-
Yeah, when you turn 18, you go to town and you drink with your friends and, you know, prees, like you see it all the time.
Yeah.
Like it's a really glorified thing. But then even at family dinners, we had one particular family member there. He is anti-drug, never touched a drug his whole entire life, all of that. Biggest alcoholic I've ever met.
Oh yeah.
Ever met. Drinks himself silly every single day.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know how he is living. It is ridiculous to me. Like 80% of that man is alcohol. I swear to God, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he's always there just going on about how drugs are so shit and they're so bad and they ruined everyone he knew. And like he grew up with a lot of those druggies that he talks about. So it's like, and a lot of them are still his friends.
Yep.
And he glorifies being with them and having them at his parties and stuff, but he'll still talk really negatively about that.
Alcoholism is a massive problem.
Oh yeah,
It's the
100%.
silent killer, you know.
Yeah.
Statistically, it does so much damage to society.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Domestic violence, road
That's it.
rage.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
crazy.
the drain on the it beats all the other substances we're
it.
talking about
That's
put
it.
together.
Well, look at COVID. When we were on lockdown, they couldn't shut the bottle-os. Like, they
Yeah.
couldn't shut the bottle shops for fucking a week. Like, that's not doable over here in this country. People
Yeah,
will break
were
doors.
panic buying
Like,
beers
yeah.
and cartons. It was
That's
ridiculous.
it. Like, people would literally be rioting to get into the alcohol stores if you tried shutting them
and
here.
their defense for keeping it open was that, you know, people that are alcoholics and things like that, they
Yeah.
can't just cut them off cold turkey, you
Yeah,
know, but
yeah.
they advocate that to substance, you know, people that take substance and things like that they should cut it cold turkey. So
Yeah, that's
Even
it.
though
Kind-
that can
kind of
be
needs to be good for
extremely
both.
dangerous
Well, that's
for
100%.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. No, yeah, alcoholism in particular, drinking is very bad. Not in every situation, obviously. A little bit of anything is not always that bad
Of
for
Yeah,
course,
you.
anything in moderation is
That's
fine.
it, yeah. Depending on the situation, provided you're in a safe headspace with safe people, you know, you're doing the right fucking thing and you're being an adult about it. If you're going to party like an adult, be an adult about it.
Yeah.
Like I said in one of the few podcasts back, if you can plan your friend's 21st or their 18th for 6 months and you can't look up where to buy a drug test kit from that takes 5 minutes of your time, it's a pathetic excuse. pathetic excuse for people to be dying, for people to be getting home late in fucked up mindsets. Like, that's a pathetic excuse. It's not good enough.
With that being said, I guess there needs to be more education given about the fact that drug kits are actually legal.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get in trouble
for carrying a drug kit.
Yeah, exactly. So I reckon if that was educated a bit more, people would be like more willing to go buy that and like keep themselves a little bit more safe.
You can't walk out of a shop like off your tree and you're going to get tackled by the police. Like, it doesn't, that's not how it works.
You'd want to hope not.
Yeah. It's Adelaide, man. Like, they know what's going on. They have some sort of an idea, but you're not going to get hassled and targeted. And like, people genuinely go to those sorts of stores for incense and clothing and posters. Like, they don't go there for what other people are going there for, but you're allowed to go to those sorts of resources and shops. That's why they're there.
Yeah.
Like, that's why they're available.
Are drug kits available at most like pharmacies and things like that?
Yeah, see, pharmacies I don't actually know about. I'll have to look into that.
I didn't actually know that was available at all.
Yeah.
I see often they have alcohol testing kits usually, but I haven't seen drug testing.
Yeah.
So what us kids would call a head shop is pretty much where they sell things like bongs and like related narcotics. Yeah, exactly.
Whatnot,
yeah. At nearly every head shop, so your Happy High Herbs, your Off Your Trees, they always have a drug testing.
They'll be
testing
behind the
kit
counter.
there.
Yeah, they're always behind the counter there. And they're anywhere from like $5 to $15. Like, it's cheaper than the drugs that you're buying. Stop using lame excuses. Like, go out and
expensive.
get. That's it. And fair, not everyone knows about it, but once you know about it, go out and get one. Like, be smart, be safe. That's something really, to be on point about.
Without bringing up too many details, I know there's a slight shift in how that's happening in other countries. Australia's maybe a bit behind the eight ball of sort of saying, no, that's encouraging the kiddies to do drugs.
Yeah.
But the reality is there's other countries are recognising it's saving their kids.
That's
100%.
People are dying.
Like
That's
those drug testing things at music festivals and things like that, that
they should be mandatory.
Yeah, it should be.
At the Clipsal, they always, Super Looped, Adelaide 500, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's a Clipsal to me, mate. Sorry. Not that it's here anymore, but when they had the Super Loop in Adelaide, they had alcohol testing kits for ages there that you could just use for free at the police tent. At the fucking police tent. So probably no one would use them, but they had the alcohol things there. But in the last couple of years, they introduced like party drug testing kits, and you could just take them from the box and leave. Like, you didn't have to do it there. But can you imagine that? You're trying to offer a service to people to anonymously check if they're okay to drive home, or if they're, okay to take some more, or whatever people are using that for, whether it's purity test or whatever, and the cop is sitting there looking at you, watching you. Like, can you imagine what's so
just write you down on their list?
Going to a cop and being like, hey, here's a little bit of my drugs for you to test.
You'd feel hot. Yeah, you'd be like, this is crazy. Like, they're setting me up. Like, this is ridiculous.
Young people aren't going to go up to authority like that, so it needs to be accessible
especially
more easily.
If you're under 18 at an event like that.
Yeah.
I've been drinking at the Clipsal since I was like 12 years old. Like, just to, people are going to be using drugs and drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes in places where they're not meant to be, where they're underage. So you need to have resources for everybody that everybody can access.
Comes back to that harm minimisation that you asked a while ago. Are we helping people, or are we making it? We're putting people at risk.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you guys think as trained high risk youth workers, there are enough resources out there for youth to reduce and cut out their drug use, maybe?
I think it's getting better, and I think they are there, and if young people want to look for it, and the thing I've found in my time is, will they use it? Yeah. And often it's only a rock bottom situation. As we all know, there's many different substances, and for example, an ice pipe and the use of meth, it could bring someone to rock bottom a hell of a lot quicker than maybe some other substances.
Yeah.
And but then often there's also a delusion or a psychosis attached to that, which makes it hard for that young person to accept that maybe I need some help, or how do I get that help? But I think there's more and more services. Your Street Links, your Headspaces, your Centre Cares, your United Wets. There's a lot of services for young people in South Australia. Young people accessing them is still the slight barrier.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest problem for that is? Like, in your personal experience, do you think it's just cause youth aren't seeking it enough, or they don't know it's out there, or it's not being advertised in a public way because of that whole "you're promoting drug use" thing. Like, what do you think the biggest issue is there?
Probably a good combination
Yeah.
of those. I think it could be promoted more. Once again, I've always sat in harm minimisation space for a while, and I think it could be promoted a bit better. I think peers play a role. Trusted peers or trusted adults around that young person that can, I'm not saying sit down, you're at an intervention,
Yeah,
but actually recognising, hey, we might need to help our friend here.
That's it.
They're getting a bit out of hand. They're
100%.
losing a little bit.
Sorry, just
Yeah,
with
cool.
that,
Yeah.
I was just thinking, I think also as young people, we need to look after our friends in that sort of situation. If we see our friends doing something like heavy drugs or something like that, we, instead of getting mad or, we need to go, what is going on?
Yeah, that's it.
Trying to help people with that sort of thing and help people find a trusted adult to talk to.
Yeah.
I know when an emergency is an emergency, and I know a lot of the time there might be that whole, I know this is extreme of extreme, but if I call an ambulance, they might not want to talk to me again or whatever. You would rather save that person. I
definitely.
promise you, I guarantee you with every fiber of my being, you would rather that ambulance go and they never talk to you again than they overdose and you could have done something.
Yeah.
Not that
100%.
it should be on anyone's conscience, but you do have a responsibility as a good friend to recognize when an emergency is an emergency and outweigh the moral of friendship and genuinely looking out for someone and making that step and doing something about it quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would like to think that as the dust settles on that person would recognise the right thing was done.
That's
Yeah,
it,
for sure.
The
100%,
friendship should probably be
100%.
okay.
That's it. And just know at the time that people can come around. They might be, oh, fuck you, I can't believe you did that to me. You put me in this position I didn't want to be in. But
Yeah, they'll come around.
Someone would never do that to you to make you feel awful about yourself.
Yeah,
It's
that's it.
only to help you and save you.
Purely
from
out of
That's
care
right.
and
Yeah,
love.
it's-
Yeah,
That's right.
someone
It's
being
not
a
to
good
ruin
friend.
your fun and take it
Yeah,
away.
that's
It's
it.
you're not doing good. Yeah.
100%. Because when it gets to bigger phases, like you're in a ward or your friends are visiting you in the hospital, like you'd much rather have that initial, this is an emergency, I need to do something about it.
Right.
I'd really
versus-
respect someone after, I think, if someone
Yeah,
did that for me.
100%. I've had people, even times where maybe I was just being a bit dramatic at the time, but I'd be saying things and I'd have someone like, if you don't stop, I'm going to have to call an ambulance on you. And I'm like, all right, settle down.
You
Like,
have to
settle
do worst
down.
case scenario to
Yeah,
some
yeah,
people for
that's
them
it.
to
Yeah.
Tough
snap
love,
out of
man.
it.
Yeah.
Tough love. Yeah, some people just need that bit of a verbal punch in the face.
Yeah.
Verbal. They need that to be smacked with that information sometimes.
Can
I
I
really
ask you
need to
guys a
hear
question?
it. Yeah, for
sure.
sure.
As
Thank
young
you.
people that are in this field, we have a lot of mental health and the recognition of Are You OK days and that. Should there be something around substance use and how do you think young people would respond to an opportunity to be able to discuss these more openly and freely?
Well,
Do we need a day, a ribbon? What do you reckon?
Well, I think so. I reckon that can work with anything. For example, the Are You OK Day. I remember being in primary school and people were just kind of taking the piss out of it and asking, "Oh yeah, are you okay?" And sometimes that led to a couple kids actually saying, like, "Actually, no, I'm not. Like,
Yeah.
I actually do need help." And it actually brought up a real conversation just because I feel like kids started to laugh about it and to the point where they just kind of got a bit comfortable. And that's when a couple kids actually rose up and said, "Hey, like, fuck, I actually need some help."
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with drug use. If we can do that with drug use and just get that conversation started, like things just like a simple day where like you say one thing like, "Are you okay?" It can really get a conversation
Yeah.
started,
Yeah,
which can
that's
really
it.
change like a kid's
Well,
life
one
forever.
hashtag, one, like
Mhm.
me too, like just one little thing can
Yeah.
make such a big impact like that. Yeah. I think like you were saying though, a lot of the time when I was younger, I think because of like who those days are kind of organized and ran by, sometimes kids are like, oh, that's just the same bullshit people feeding
Yeah.
us the same, "Are you okay day? You get paid to ask us that." Like,
Yep.
there's no empathy or emotion associated with that a lot of the time.
Yep.
But then again, like Ty said, I've seen a lot of the times where it has actually brought up healthy conversations that, you wouldn't usually have with your friends. You should be. You
Yeah.
definitely should
Yeah.
be, but you probably wouldn't have.
I think that's great because there is nothing like that, especially for drug help, just
Yeah.
for that support and awareness. There's nothing like that, in my opinion. Like, I haven't seen anything like that.
Yeah,
I don't know if
definitely.
anyone else has, but just good things so that other people know they're not alone either.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And I think even just on the recognition sort of thing, it's really, really, really important to recognize when people are doing well and to give that feedback to them and to recognize, like, I can see you've cut back, or I can see you're trying really hard to make a difference about it, and I'm proud of you. I can see that you're trying, because
recognizing those small steps for them.
Yeah,
because it's
that's
a
it.
big step for them.
That's it. And it makes people feel more comfortable to take bigger steps and bigger leaps toward whatever their goal may be surrounding their substance or drug use in this particular situation. But yeah, I think that sort of stuff, we need to have those conversations with youth more. Like, us as kids need to have that conversation more. But I think if there was a particular allocated time where we could talk about it, it'd be good, especially in schools like ours. I feel like it's a bit easier to just have a conversation with, like, the teachers at our school versus a teacher in mainstream. I was thinking about it on the bus today, actually. I had a teacher in primary school. She was like a mother to everyone. Everyone adored her. And I just remember no other teacher ever compared at primary school to her. And I was just like, wow, I miss her every day. She passed away, sadly, to a brain tumor a little while ago. But every single student at that school loved her, absolutely adored her. And until I went to Sassy, I didn't think that was possible. Like, that was like, it's a one-off thing. Like, she's just an incredible woman, and I'm never going to have this relationship again, like, with another teacher or adult.
Yeah, and that's just one person's impact on you. Imagine that was a whole school approach.
Exactly.
It would hold a lot more weight.
Yeah, it was lifelong. One lady being a little bit extra nice, and just using a bit more kindness. Yeah, 100%.
Do you think there's enough training given to people in your field of work, surrounding harmful language and stigma about youth substance abuse?
Where I work currently, absolutely there is, and I think there's other schools in that kind of zone that do a really good job of emphasising the importance of understanding those things, and being able to have open arms to support young people, particularly when they cry out for it. And I did time working in my previous youth work position in mainstream schools, and once again, you guys covered it earlier. There's so many kids and so few staff at times, and I think the training there has been getting a bit better, and they could be more prepared with trauma, substance use, and the kind of things that they're actually facing in the classroom now. I feel really privileged to be at a school that just has that at the forefront. As we know, Sassy's a wellbeing school, wellbeing first, that leads to career pathways after that, but ultimately looking after getting young people into a good space here is what it's all about. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of training, and other companies I've worked with have as well.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that, Nathan. Even from an administration perspective, I'm in most of the trainings to do with mental health and trauma and things like that. So I think it's good as a whole school approach. I wouldn't see administration in a mainstream school setting going to those trainings.
Sure.
I know in a couple of weeks we've got our mental health first aid training. So just little things like that. So it's really good.
Yeah, and we have all the teachers.
Yeah,
all the admin,
everyone,
and all the youth workers do that training. So,
you won't see no one not in there.
Yeah, so like they're
involved.
Annually.
We might
like
even bring in Jim the cleaner next
year.
We do a lot of training and a lot of PD work, personal development, and a lot of it's around that. And we the mental health training, substance use, and we've done all that training. It's all been delivered by some really fantastic companies like Connect Itself to us and other places as well. So we get a lot of training when we are.
Beautiful.
What advice would you give to people who are trying to be youth workers or first responders?
I'll go with the being the first responder first.
Yep.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, I think you have to have empathy. You want to be non-judgmental, and you're there to help that person. Not turn them away, not make them feel bad about their choices, not put your stuff on them. So you want to be in that space.
Yeah.
What was the other part again? Sorry, T.
Or youth workers, like anyone trying to become a youth worker.
Look, I think unfortunately it's a growing field because through society right now, and I think I've really loved doing it. You have to be in a space to be able to help others.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not in that space, how can you help others if you've got too much baggage here or stuff going on? So ultimately, I think some of the best youth workers, as I said, are young people that have done it tough, that are relatable, that have found their feet, that have, you know, have come out of the muck. I like to describe it as sometimes, whatever their muck was.
For sure.
And they can be awesome youth workers. And I see it, we see it.
Yeah.
And Sassy hires them. You know, we have a few, 3 or 4 right now, including yourself, working at our schools, youth workers. And so.
And that personal experience definitely helped along with that. The best counsellors, workers, psychologists, people I know in those responding roles make the best ones. You know, they've all been through it themselves.
You need a lot of patience.
Yeah, patience, definitely.
And it's not about you. You need to be pretty ego-free.
Yeah, don't take things to heart.
Yeah, you've got to remain the adult. Got to have thick skin.
We get thrown so much, but they always apologise.
Yeah.
You have to understand that it's the behaviour we struggle with, not the young person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
No,
it. So
no.
my mum used to always say, she's like, I love you, but I fucking hate what you do.
That's right.
Hate
Mum-
your attitude.
Yeah. Mum always used to say that
Yeah.
all
My
the
mum
time.
said that too.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's like the training that you guys have must be a different level. Our school in particular, because I know even like I've said back in my day, when I was a bit younger at Sassy, I had a few not screaming matches. It was just me screaming, and the teacher very politely standing there going, Yes, everything you're feeling is right.
no,
You are right. Be true to yourself.
I've
Yes.
definitely screamed at a couple people.
Yeah, and then you get things like, I'm proud of you for telling me how you felt. Like, shut up, man. Like, don't fucking say that. I feel horrible. You don't want to go back to school the next day.
Yeah,
They're all waiting out the front, big
embarrassed.
smiles, like, how you going? I'm like, fuck. Yeah. It's like, oh my
It's always a new
God.
day, you know.
That's
That's a
it,
big
that's
thing with
it.
Sassy. It's always a new day.
Yeah,
That's
leave
it.
everything behind.
Yeah,
And,
start again.
yeah.
100%.
What are some services you would recommend to young people? Or
For young people, there's some great ones in South Australia. There's Street Link, there's Headspace, there's Shine.
Centre Care. Yeah, there's quite a few. Even just a quick Google search for you guys. The SA Health website has heaps of them as well. So but just
Sweet.
to name a few: Street Link, Centre Care.
Yep, I highly recommend that
Protect Itself,
Google
yeah.
search. You'll be able to find what you're looking for, whether it's for mental health stuff, whether it's for substances, whether it's
Awesome.
for family breakdown. Like
Yeah,
that's it.
there are services for young people. St. John's.
Whether or
it's
not you're
everywhere.
looking to actually do something or just talk,
Yep.
there's
That's
those
right,
services
yeah.
there.
Yep.
Yeah. A few that I like to personally vouch for because I've had some incredible experiences with them. Street League in particular, they were really good there. They offer anonymous services. So if you maybe need to get a pregnancy test or, I don't know, maybe you're at home, you and your partner, you're experiencing domestic violence, you need to talk about that privately. They have a lot of free stuff there for youth. So like free dental and community hospitals and stuff like that. So
Oh, that's amazing.
and they'll supply like basic painkillers and they do some sexual health there, like contraception and stuff. And just the staff there are so friendly, particularly here in Adelaide. They've moved now to this big building somewhere. I can't remember the name of the street, but I was there a few weeks ago. It's phenomenal. The people there are really lovely. They've got heaps of flyers there that are really good too about like just pregnancy and alcohol and being young and taking drugs and what to look for and watch what you're doing and all that sort of stuff. Street Link's amazing. So if you need something like that, and they have free drug counselling as well.
yeah,
Oh, that's
For
good to
people
know.
under 18.
They have
I-
all
sorry.
sorts of services
Yeah,
to
they're
refer
incredible.
young.
I've been through Centre Care.
Yep.
For just trying to quit drugs. They were very good too. They come to your house, and they have nurses and stuff that can help you detox if you need that sort of service.
Beautiful.
That's
Beautiful.
good.
People to talk to.
So just quickly on that, access for them to come to your house is good to have because a lot of people aren't going to put themselves out there to
That's
go.
it. That's it.
So yeah, that's good.
In your own little comfortable space.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
and also they're completely LGBTQ LGBTQ plus a
Awesome.
community
Welcoming
and
of
welcoming
everyone.
of anyone
Yeah.
in that community.
Awesome. Street Link had Black Lives Matter stickers, little pride flag. They're amazing, man. Love that.
No.
Sorry. Got anyone, Ty?
Yeah, not an official service, but just any educated peer. You
Yep.
know,
Yeah,
someone who has experience in the field and that you really trust and can relate to. I reckon they're an awesome help in like most scenarios in life.
Awesome, man. Sweet. Even just in like saying that in some not so official places, even just things like random Facebook groups and like
Oh yeah.
there's stuff for teens out there like Discord servers and you know.
subreddit. I haven't been on it. This is specifically for marijuana, but it's r/leaves, I think, and people talk about how they've quit.
Awesome. Like their
marijuana
recovery
and
stories.
stuff like that. Yeah, that
Sweet.
sort of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. But no, there's definitely services out there as long as you're willing to get that help and receive that information and you really truly want it. It's definitely out there. You just gotta find it a little bit. Look for it
got to be
yourself.
willing to
Yeah.
put your foot in the door.
That's it.
And I think even if you go and it puts you off straight away, you're not sure, don't write it off.
Yeah,
Maybe-
don't.
Yeah.
Maybe look into it down the stretch a little bit further.
100%.
Yeah, when you're ready.
That's it. And yeah, Connected Self, they're another one. They were great service. I was
Yep.
really scared to have the word social worker or case worker, youth worker, like terrified me. I'm like, this is gonna be so weird. Like what do they manage my life? Like it was just a
Yeah.
weird concept to me at first. But they have a lot of young, really spirited people there that are really passionate about what they do, and they just make you feel like you're just having a conversation with like Ty said, kind of an educated friend who knows what they're actually talking about and has been taught how to respond to that sort of thing. It's just a really comfortable environment. But there's always something out there that is going to work for you. You just have to find it sometimes, like we
That's
said
right.
before.
Sure.
But yeah, that's all of these, isn't it?
Yep.
I think on that,
cute
Miriam, too, you
cards.
can with that educated peer or the professional you've worked with, the responder that's helped you, you get to pass that on to. You get to pass that on to others.
Oh yeah, that's it. Definitely. It's like even having someone that I connected with when I was learning things from him, I was able to pass it on to my friends easier. Like it was easier to communicate some facts and some helpful information, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think like even for all you guys at school, I see a lot of the younger peers come up to you, and I think that's great. These are some of those trusted people that they go to for that advice, and I think it's good that you put yourselves out there and let
that's
them
it.
acknowledge that. I think that's amazing. You should be very proud of yourselves, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Really needed that when I was a bit younger.
Yeah,
I could have dealt with someone who was like, stop being fucking
like the
weird."
mum of the group.
Yeah, that's it. It's really helpful to have just to keep you in line a little bit. You need goals, you need good friends, and you need some sort of structure to your life.
You guys should be really proud of this too, because I know
Yeah,
you were with
this
us, but we showed our middle school one of the first podcasts,
Yeah.
and it invoked conversation that we hadn't had with that age
Yeah.
group
That group.
before and
Excellent.
those students before. So
Excellent.
what you guys are doing here with Puff and Pass is awesome.
No, that's great.
And I think as those juniors kind of see your trust in us and what we do, I think that entices them to have those conversations
That's
as well.
It's
'cause,
possible to have those sorts of relationships.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, on that, I had a friend at Sassy sit me down one day and be like, stop ignoring their help. Like, you need to just talk to them about your shit. Like, if you just open up and actually work with them and give them what they're asking for so that you can get what you're asking for, it'll be way easier at the end of the day.
See, that's amazing.
Like, you just got to get past it and just build relationships with people. It's awkward at first.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
especially going to a new school where I was in mainstream forever and a lot of us are like that. And then we come to a school like this and it's like, but yeah, just building relationships and just spreading that awareness. And yeah, it's really important to have, encouraging your friends to do the right, safe thing for their mental health and
That's
physical
right.
health and for everyone around them as well. It's really important. But yeah, thank you guys for being here today. I really appreciate it. It was amazing with some good conversations with the adults.
That was awesome. I want to come back every week.
Adults. I know it's great in here, isn't it? It's fucking awesome. I think we had some good little conversations about that. We'll maybe drop some links to some of the places that we
Of
brought
course,
up
yeah.
before.
Yep,
Because they're really good, and if we can find something a little bit extra, we'll pop them down there as well. Maybe some Reddit, some Facebook groups, and all of that. So that being said,
How the fuck do we wrap this up?
Puff and Pass.